little too cold. No?
What if everything you dreamed of fame, money, stardom was the very thing that destroyed you? That's the story of Shia LaBeouf. He was the kid every young actor wanted to be. He made it big, fast. But then, things fell apart. Not just in his career, but in his mind, his body, and his soul. This isn't just about a celebrity meltdown. This is about how Hollywood lifts you up, tears you down, and watches the show. Shia's journey isn't just disturbing. It might be a warning. So what happened to Shia LaBeouf? And why does no one in Hollywood want to answer that question? Let's find out. Shia LaBeouf began as Louis Stevens on the Disney Channel show Even Stevens. He was funny, wild, and full of energy. Kids loved him. Parents did too. He even won a Daytime Emmy in 2003. That's a big deal for a kid actor. He was raised by a struggling comedian father and a dancer mother. His home life was tough, money problems, arguments, instability. Acting wasn't just a dream, it was an escape. In 2003, he starred in Holes, a movie based on a popular kids' book. It was a hit. Then came I, Robot, Disturbia, and finally Transformers in 2007. By age 21, Shia was a global superstar. Magazine covers, interviews, blockbuster roles. He was everywhere. He even landed a role alongside Indiana Jones. Not bad for a kid who started out telling jokes on Disney. Fame is fun, until it isn't. By 2010, Shia started acting a little different, not just in movies, but in real life. He gave strange interviews, he looked upset in public, something was changing inside him. In 2014, he showed up to a movie premiere wearing a paper bag on his head that said, "I am not famous anymore." People were confused. Some laughed, some worried. But Shia said it wasn't a joke. He was serious. He was doing something called performance art. He later sat in a small room while strangers walked in and looked at him cry. It was all part of his art. The media didn't know what to make of it. Was it art? Was it a meltdown? Fans began to ask, was Shia okay? Then came another shock. In 2013, Shia made a short film. It was called HowardCantor.com. People liked it until they found out it was copied almost word for word from a comic by artist Daniel Clowes. Shia said he was sorry, but then people noticed something weird. His apology? It was copied too. Yep, his apology was taken from a famous speech without credit. The internet exploded. Fans felt tricked. Even Shia's defenders were confused. He claimed it was part of his art, something about stealing to make a point, but many didn't buy it. He faced backlash online and in the industry. Doors started to close. Things didn't calm down. In fact, they got worse. In 2014, he was arrested in New York City for being drunk and loud at a Broadway show. He yelled at actors. He swore at police. 3 years later, in 2017, he was arrested again, this time in Georgia. He was caught on camera shouting racist and violent things at officers. The footage was ugly. It went viral. Shia later admitted he had a problem with alcohol and anger. He checked into rehab, but public opinion was already shifting. Some fans left. Others hoped he'd find help. In 2020, singer FKA Twigs sued Shia LaBeouf. She said he was abusive, emotionally, physically, even sexually. She claimed he once drove recklessly with her in the car, threatened her, and hurt her. Another ex, singer Sia, also said she'd been hurt by him. Shia denied many of the claims, but he also admitted he had done harm to people in his life. He said he had no excuses and was ashamed of his past. The lawsuit shocked Hollywood. Directors dropped him, projects vanished, even more people turned away. Some said he was beyond saving. Just before the lawsuit, in 2019, Shia released a deeply personal film called Honey Boy. He wrote it during rehab. It was based on his life as a child actor. In the film, he plays his own father, an abusive, unstable man who pushed him into fame. The movie was raw and painful. Critics praised it. Some said it was a cry for healing. Shia seemed to be trying to understand why he became who he was, why he acted out, why he hurt people. But sadly, life off-screen wasn't following the same healing path. In 2022, something surprising happened. While preparing to play a monk in the film Padre Pio, Shia learned about the Catholic faith. At first, it was just research. But something clicked. He said he found peace. He started reading the Bible, talking to priests. He decided to become Catholic and was baptized later that year. Shia said this change saved his life. He said it gave him purpose and taught him to love others again. But not everyone believed him. Some thought it was just another act, another way to fix his image. Shia also started an acting group, the Slauson Rec Theater Company. He wanted to help young actors from tough neighborhoods. But a documentary showed a different side. It showed Shia yelling, screaming, breaking down his students emotionally. His methods were raw and intense. People were shocked. Was he helping them grow or scaring them? Some students defended him. Others quit. Once again, Shia LaBeouf was surrounded by controversy. In 2024, Shia starred in Megalopolis, a movie directed by legend Francis Ford Coppola. This was supposed to be a big comeback, big names, big budget, but the film didn't connect with audiences. It was strange, confusing. Critics were mixed. Shia later admitted he didn't understand what the director wanted. He said he struggled during the shoot. Still, he said he was trying to be better, trying to do good work, trying to be someone his younger self could be proud of. So what really happened to Shia LaBeouf? Was it fame that broke him? Was it his childhood? Was it something darker, something we still don't fully understand? The truth is, Shia is complicated. He's talented, he's troubled, he's done bad things, he's tried to make art out of pain, he's sought help, he's hurt people, and he might still be healing. Hollywood doesn't like stories without clean endings, but life isn't a movie, and Shia's story isn't over. Maybe it's just a new chapter. If this story made you think, hit that like button, subscribe for more untold Hollywood tales, and let us know in the comments, do you think Shia can truly make a comeback?
Can't go any higher than that. What are you doing with that marmoset on your head? Well, it seems comfortable up there, I guess.
That's right.
Look at that.
That's where they feel safe, when they're kind of up and look at something, and they like the hair because they would hang on to the female. So they want.
He ruled late-night TV for 30 years, but only after Johnny Carson's death did the truth emerge about his icy relationships, deep insecurities, and private disdain for Hollywood's phoniness. Behind the charm was a man who enforced strict boundaries, cut ties over loyalty breaches, and retreated from fame the moment he could. What fans are just now discovering paints a very different picture of the king of late night. Johnny Carson hosted The Tonight Show from 1962 to 1992, becoming a television legend. He created the format that late-night hosts still use today: the opening monologue, celebrity interviews, comedy sketches, and musical performances. But while he appeared warm and approachable on TV, Carson kept his real self carefully guarded from both the public and many of his colleagues. People who worked with Carson knew he had strict rules for guests on his show. They were told never to touch Johnny, no hugs or pats on the back. His desk items, especially his pens, were completely off limits. Most importantly, guests were warned not to mess with Carson's appearance, a rule that Burt Reynolds would famously break in one of the show's most memorable moments. Carson's relationship with Reynolds shows how complicated his Hollywood connections really were. On screen, they had amazing chemistry that viewers loved. Their back-and-forth jokes and unexpected moments made for great television that felt spontaneous and genuine, even when parts were carefully planned. The most famous moment between them happened when Reynolds suddenly pulled out scissors during an appearance and cut Carson's tie in half. The audience gasped before bursting into laughter. Carson stayed professional on camera, even cutting a piece of Reynolds' clothing in return to play along with the joke. But behind the scenes, Carson was not happy. Crew members later revealed he was clearly annoyed after the show ended. Reynolds had broken one of Carson's most important rules by messing with his carefully maintained appearance, crossing a line that few dared to cross. Years later, Reynolds shared his perspective on their relationship.
Here's the thing the guys like me are most jealous about. You were friends with Johnny Carson. Not only that, but you hosted The Tonight Show many times. What was Johnny like? Why did you guys think you had so much chemistry between each other?
You know, I really don't know. It happened the first night. I walked out, and I looked in his eyes, and I looked in mine, and it was something happened. It was magic. We just had a fabulous thing going.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and he just let me go. I mean, and I was smart enough to let him set him up for a couple of jokes.
Yeah.
And then he would give me one.
That was the deal? He
That
gets
was the
two,
deal.
you get one?
He gets two, I get one.
That's a nice deal.
And later I had to give him 4.
Reynolds said in an interview before his death, he described their friendship as both competitive and respectful, with clear boundaries between their public and private lives. Carson's relationship with Bob Hope tells us even more about his true feelings toward fellow celebrities. Even though Hope appeared on The Tonight Show more than 100 times, Carson privately disliked these segments and found them increasingly difficult to endure as Hope aged. Carson's biggest complaint was that Hope couldn't think on his feet. As someone who valued natural conversation, Carson found Hope's dependence on prepared jokes frustrating. Hope's appearances seemed spontaneous to viewers, but were actually carefully planned, with the aging comedian completely relying on written material and cue cards. Despite Carson's personal feelings, NBC's relationship with Hope meant that the comedian could essentially book himself on the show whenever he wanted, particularly when promoting his specials. This arrangement frustrated Carson, who felt he had no choice but to welcome Hope despite his growing dislike of these segments. Carson's relationship with Joan Rivers reveals even more about his true feelings toward Hollywood loyalty. Rivers was a frequent guest and occasional host, seemingly close with Carson. When NBC offered Rivers her own competing late-night show in 1986, Carson felt deeply betrayed, not because she took the opportunity, but because she never told him personally before the news became public. Rivers later claimed Carson told her, "You will never be on this show again," and he kept his word. She remained banned from The Tonight Show until 2014, long after Carson's death, when Jimmy Fallon finally welcomed her back. The feud was so significant that even Jay Leno, Carson's immediate successor, maintained the ban out of respect for Carson. Unlike these difficult relationships, Carson had a genuine friendship with comedian Don Rickles. Carson truly appreciated Rickles' authentic personality and quick wit. When Rickles appeared on the show, Carson would often laugh uncontrollably at his unpredictable humor, showing a rare glimpse of genuine emotion. Carson's personal life also showed his complicated relationship with fame. He was married 4 times, to Jody Wolcott, 1949 to 1963, Joanne Copeland, 1963 to 1972, Joanna Holland, 1972 to 1983, and Alexis Moss, 1987 to 2005. These relationships often suffered under the pressure of his celebrity status and his emotional distance. His busy career put a heavy strain on his marriages. The long hours, public attention, and Carson's tendency to keep people at arm's length created problems that were hard to overcome. Though viewers never saw it, Carson struggled with drinking problems and a quick temper that contributed to his marital difficulties. During divorce proceedings with his second wife, Joanne Copeland, it came to light that Carson's alcoholism was at the heart of their troubles. Court documents revealed Carson was deeply insecure and routinely suspected Copeland of cheating. When he discovered she had a secret apartment where she was meeting another man, Carson's darker side emerged, leading to increased drinking and depression. When his son Richard died in a car accident in 1991, Carson's carefully controlled emotions briefly showed through. During the show where he paid tribute to his son, Carson took longer than his producer Fred DeCordova thought appropriate. When signaled to wrap up, Carson reportedly became furious, banning DeCordova from the set for the rest of the show's run, despite DeCordova retaining his title as executive producer. Even Carson's relationship with Ed McMahon, his sidekick for 30 years, was primarily professional. McMahon later shared that while they respected each other, Carson kept his emotional distance even from those closest to him at work. This professional boundary allowed their on-screen chemistry to thrive while maintaining Carson's need for personal space. Carson's mixed feelings about Hollywood shaped his later years. After retiring in 1992, he almost completely disappeared from public life, very different from many celebrities who can't step out of the spotlight. This retreat suggested Carson had grown tired of the industry that made him famous and preferred privacy to continued attention. Carson explained about his retirement, "I just felt it was time to get out while people still wanted me." But many believe his withdrawal showed a deeper discomfort with fame itself, a sentiment he occasionally expressed even at the height of his success. Carson once told a reporter, "I'm not comfortable being famous." This simple statement offers insight into a man who, despite his success, never fully embraced the Hollywood lifestyle that many of his guests eagerly pursued. The stories that came out after his death in 2005 show a brilliant performer who kept strict boundaries between his public and private lives, a man who could entertain millions while remaining in many ways a mystery to those who watched him every night. Through these revelations, we gain a more complete understanding of the man behind the desk, whose influence on American culture remains significant even as we learn about the complexity that lay beneath his charming facade. What if I told you that one of NASCAR's most beloved icons once nearly lost it all? Before the $300 million empire, before the sprawling 200-acre estate, Dale Earnhardt Jr. made a decision that could have destroyed everything his family had built. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the untold financial journey of NASCAR's favorite son, revealing the high-stakes gambles, silent struggles, and brilliant business moves that racing fans have never heard before. While millions watched him dominate the track, nobody saw the financial chess match playing out behind the scenes. By the end of this expose, you'll understand why Dale Jr.'s greatest victory wasn't won behind the wheel, but in boardrooms and back offices where fortunes are truly made. Growing up as the son of NASCAR legend Dale Earnhardt Sr. came with expectations that would crush most people. What fans don't realize is that Dale Jr. was initially hesitant to follow in his father's tire tracks. In fact, according to insiders, young Dale originally pursued automotive technology not to race, but because he feared he might need a real job if racing didn't pan out. This practical mindset would later become the foundation of his financial empire. Unlike many athletes who squander their earnings, Dale Jr. approached his wealth with the same calculated precision he showed on the track. While collecting trophies on Sundays, Monday through Friday, he was strategically building a business portfolio that would eventually eclipse his racing income. At the height of his racing career, Dale Jr. was pulling in between $25 to $30 million annually, making him NASCAR's highest-paid driver from 2008 to 2015. But here's what the cameras never captured. Dale was reinvesting nearly 80% of his earnings back into business ventures that experts considered extremely risky at the time. The biggest gamble? JR Motorsports, his racing team that initially hemorrhaged money. "Everyone thought I was crazy," Dale once confided to a close associate. "They said owning a team would bankrupt me." For the first 3 years, the venture operated deeply in the red, with Dale personally covering millions in losses against the advice of financial experts. That decision, which seemed financially reckless at the time, has now become one of his most valuable assets, transforming from a money pit into a cornerstone of his $300 million empire. While fans marvel at his 200-acre Mooresville estate with its go-kart track and collection of vintage cars, few know about Dale Jr.'s strategic real estate investments across the American South. Sources close to the racing star reveal he has quietly amassed over 40 commercial properties in 5 states, many purchased during the 2008 recession when prices bottomed out. Dale saw opportunity when everyone else saw disaster, says a former business partner who requested anonymity. He was buying prime commercial real estate at 30 cents on the dollar while other celebrities were selling their assets in panic. These properties now generate an estimated $15 million in annual passive income, money that continues flowing whether he's on the track or not. When Dale Jr. transitioned from driver to broadcaster, fans viewed it as a natural evolution for the charismatic racer. What they didn't see was the brilliant contract negotiation happening behind closed doors. Industry insiders report that Dale's broadcasting agreement with NBC Sports contains unprecedented profit-sharing clauses tied to advertising revenue that his segments generate. This means that unlike other retired athletes who simply collect a salary, Dale Jr. essentially owns a percentage of the commercial airtime during his segments, a deal structure that has never been replicated in sports broadcasting. Perhaps the most closely guarded secret involves Dale's inheritance following his father's tragic death in 2001. Contrary to public assumption, Dale Jr. did not immediately receive a windfall. In fact, complicated estate planning issues created a financial strain that Dale Jr. never publicly discussed. There were years right after his father's passing where Dale was asset-rich but cash-poor, reveals a longtime family friend. He was worth millions on paper but sometimes struggled with liquidity.